There are many things I do not agree with whenever it concerns the military. One thing that I really don't agree with is as far as women getting combat arm MOSs. The Army and even the Marines are starting to allow women to become infantry and cavalry scouts, two of the most demanding jobs in the United States Army, and two of the most dangerous. It's not because they're women that I feel this way, by no means, not a sexist at all. It's because men and women are just built differently. We even think different. I'll get into that later on. How we deal with things is completely different. Ever since the military was formed, women have not been able to serve in a combat-oriented MOS. There are many reasons. Like I said, men and women are just built differently. Our anatomy, completely different. And that is one reason why men and women are not held to the same PT standards, physical training standards, for those of y'all that do not know. Because the military knows that men and women are built differently, they don't hold us to the same standards. Men were built to be stronger. We were built to work. It's that simple. We were built bigger. I mean, that's just how we were made. The minimum PT requirements for an 18-year-old male, the minimum PT requirements, just to get past the PT test, is 42 push-ups in 2 minutes, 53 sit-ups in 2 minutes, and to be able to run 2 miles in 15 minutes and 54 seconds. That's the bare minimum. Scraping by, that's it. The minimum PT requirements for females, for an 18-year-old female, is 19 push-ups in 2 minutes. That is a significant lack of upper body strength compared to the PT requirements meant for a male. How is a woman supposed to be able to drag a man out of a combat zone if he's wounded, weighing in with all of his gear, if she's not strong enough to do it? She doesn't have to train like the men do. She can't. Female requirements for sit-ups is 50 sit-ups in 2 minutes. And to be able to run 2 miles in 16 minutes and 30 seconds. The sit-ups and the running isn't a big deal. Big difference. It's a big deal. But it's not that big of a difference. But it still is a difference. We should be met. Women should be held to the same requirements as the males. You train like you fight. It's simple. If women aren't held to even the minimum PT standards as males, how can they train like we do? They can't, because they won't be used to that extreme amount of training, having to push themselves to the physical and mental limits, to that breaking point. Physical fitness plays a humongous role in being a combat MOS. It's what keeps us alive and keeps us moving, which allows us to defeat the enemy. You gotta have that endurance. You gotta be able to do it. So train like it. The standard rucksack weighs anywhere between 80 and 100 pounds for infantry and Cav Scouts. It doesn't include your weapon or any of your other gear, such as IOTV, your ACH, all the other stuff you have to carry, ammunition. And on top of rucking anywhere between 5 and 15 miles at a continuous pace. That's a lot of weight. You get tired really fast. If a man goes down and weighs about, let's say he just weighs 200 pounds like I do, without any gear. With all of my gear, I weighed in at 312 pounds. So that's 112 pounds worth of gear on top of my average body weight, my normal body weight. Now, how is a woman that weighs 130 pounds supposed to be able to drag a man out on top of an extra 112 pounds of gear? That is over 500 pounds that she alone would have to be moving at one time. it's hard for a grown, beefed up man to even be able to do that. It's crazy. And this is one reason why women should be held to the exact same PT standards as men. It's what keeps us alive. Now, to show you the difference, I got a battle buddy of mine here. That is infantry. And I want to show you the difference between average female and average male. We're the same, almost the same height. He'd be able to move me. It'd be hard. He weighs 176 pounds.
Yeah.
I weigh 200 pounds.
You want a demonstration?
No.
Okay.
There's not that big of a difference between us. Now, average female. Okay. Foot shorter than me, 130 pounds. Do you really think she would be able to move me whenever I weigh 312 pounds on top of all her other gear? I personally don't, because we're built different. It's just how we are. Now, we also, men and women, think different. Our brain structures are different, how we think. Women have that maternal instinct. They want to protect kids. And I'm not saying that men don't. It's just different. If a man sees a kid with a bomb strapped to his chest, personally, I think target, keeping my battle buddies alive, completing the mission. That's what I was trained to do. I've talked to a few women soldiers, and almost every one of them says they see a kid that's being used. How are we supposed to trust these women to watch our backs whenever they can be relied on to pull the trigger? One weak link can destroy an entire platoon, a squad, anything, because we think different. On the first deployment to Iraq, women had a whole lot harder time adjusting back to normal civilian life. Men didn't have that hard of a time. Both men and women both drank a lot. It was 0.17% became alcoholics to deal with it. Now, if the men are more worried about their battle buddy watching their back instead of focusing on the mission, which can cause the men and women to be killed because integrity of the mission is compromised, even before boots hit the ground. Women also have different needs than men, another standard in which men and women do not equally share. Women can only be in the field for 3 days before being pulled out for personal hygiene concerns. Men, however, can stay in the field for 29 days before being pulled out. How can men and women work together if the women won't even be there to contribute to the mission? How's it supposed to be completed? It can't. It's that simple. You have to be there. How are we supposed to work together if we don't even have to meet the same standards? The standards are different. We can't. I want to emphasize that this is not a sexist speech by no means. I don't believe that women, whenever it comes to combat MOSs, should be there. But if they can meet this standard, if they can meet the same standards, then it'd be okay. But the standards aren't the same. We need to train the same so we can know how each other reacts, that we know that our battle buddy has our six, that they can accomplish what needs to be done. And how are we supposed to be able to fight together, trust each other, and work together if we don't train the same? And that's it.